You are now tuned in to the Chop Shop Podcast with ChopMaster J.
Oh yeah, yeah. ChopMaster J, the Chop Shop. Chop Shop, Chop Shop, Chop Shop. ChopMaster J. Oh yeah, Judy Klein, Judy Klein. So too, son of the underground. Here we go,
You all tuned in to the Chop Shop Podcast with ChopMaster J.
Oh yeah. Welcome to another episode of the Chop Shop with yours truly, ChopMaster J, Judy Klein, Judy Klein.
Hey.
And so too. Yo, you know, what's been making noise for the last little bit here has been the whole, what appears to be the Hollywood Takedown starring P. Diddy and the Diddy antics. And, you know, it's just been a cavalcade. It's a cavalcade of stars.
Literally. It's
yes.
the debauchery.
Yeah, it is a cavalcade of stars of this soap opera that is featuring and starring one of the iconic hip hop executive producer label owners, you know, that promoter cat that basically seems to have gotten himself into a real pickle, as it were. And it's really trippy because for some people, it appears as if this is the first they've ever heard of this type of debauchery, this type of decadence, this type of thing in the entertainment business. It's like it's sad in one end, and the other thing is that people really just don't know that this has been going on since the origins of Hollywood, as it were, because really they're not really messing with the idea of New York, and it's Hollywood, and it's all the Hollywood performers and entertainers and all the people that are drawn to the flame of Hollywood, even ministers and preachers and all kinds of folks from different walks of life that are in this, that appear to be, I don't know, I can't see them just expending this energy on this one black man like that. It seems to be deeper than that. It seems to be bigger than that. And it's really going to be interesting to see what happens here, because this is like no other in terms of when they decide to take down someone of power. Like
wait. But let's pause a moment. Let's look all the way back. Let's go back to Fatty Arbuckle.
Okay.
Right? Let's go all the way back. Like, and again, to your point, the debauchery and the decadence has always been there. The problem is we have fans, right? And that fan word, fanatic, these people who worship these false idols. And without getting on a preacher's soapbox, we can't worship false idols. We need to remember that every single one of these people that y'all run out here and admire and fight for, you know, they're just human. And humans have faults and they have frailties and they make bad decisions. And we need to be more educated as consumers and as purveyors and people who embrace and endorse this stuff. We need to be mindful that these people are not gods. And that's what celebrity has risen to. That's what, you know, the people who do what I do in the industry, who push these people and push them out and amplify them. You got to be more responsible when you're pushing the demon.
Well, the idea of the mediums that they're pushed in. When you look up and see someone that big on a movie screen, they're bigger than life. And before, you would see these, like you said, these icons or these false, these individuals that have all this acknowledgement and love and all this stuff from the fan and all that. And before, that was primarily in books and maybe paintings and things. But when you are on the movie screen, i.e. Fatty Arbuckle, who I believe that was San Francisco Nob Hill with him, I think at the Mark Hopkins Hotel in San Francisco. And he allegedly broke a Coke bottle inside of a woman or something like that. And all that really bad stuff. And when you go to reading about it, because I read a little bit about it back in the day, and the idea that Fatty Arbuckle was a man that wasn't even into women. And at the end of the day, that looked like it was
usually what happens.
That looked like it was a setup, or it was something to take Fatty down. Maybe Charlie Chaplin was behind that.
I doubt it. Charlie Chaplin was
or Buster Keaton or something.
No. Yeah, those guys weren't about that sort of thing, but there's always been a definite orchestration of humans trying to position things as they really aren't.
Well, right? I beg to differ, though. I watched a documentary on Charlie Chaplin, and he was a vicious, and he was a dirty dog, and
perhaps, but he also didn't control a studio, right? And you're talking about the power dynamic, right? You're talking about who really controls these things, and he was a player in the cast, no more, no less than somebody else who we might be referring to later on in this podcast. He was one of those famous people, right? And he may be a jerk. He may have been a whole bunch of things, but those are not the people who control what we see and what we consume. And we need to be more aware of that as consumers and fans.
Sure. I mean, but once again, Charlie Chaplin was, I think, the head of his own thing at one time, and he was the biggest guy in the business and was allowed and was someone that was able to
was not head of a studio.
I think Charlie, you might want to check.
No, I really am pretty sure he wasn't control of Warner or
he had his own. He was the one who had the spot on La Brea, the whole A&M studio thing, that Jim Henson thing.
He might have, but when you talk about, again, that power dynamic, there's levels, right? There's levels. So you have your little thing. His thing was no more than an imprint.
Look, the bottom line is,
really controls the distribution of what we watch and what we view. Nah, that pretty much belonged to the
people we won't know their names, right? That we, if it turned out to be Louis B. Mayer, if it turned out to be some of these names from back in the day, there are some powerful people.
I'm not naming anybody.
Well, the idea is that they are able to go, where you don't get to know them, and this situation currently now seems to be something that is involved. Like the thing about it with us is that we're always wanting to be, as a people, flamboyant and show you what we got and what we're doing and this, that, and the other. And like we said, some of the people that genuinely would be powerful enough, you would never get to know them. And I think that when it comes to Diddy, he wore all that on his sleeve, and he say, look at me, look at this, look at that, and it's not help. It turned out to not be a helpful thing, as people now are able to bring him to the table and put him under the light, and you can see now that those videos, those nice shiny videos where you all up in the videos and all that stuff, really is not cute at all. And it's one side of it's really kind of sad. It's sad for everybody involved, really, because to get drunk with that power, to take that and misuse it, misutilize it in a way that has screwed people up, screwed up lots of lives, and it's sad. And
absolutely, it absolutely is. It's terrifying. that so many people knew this was going on for at least 3 decades that I'm aware of, because I've known. But again, you can't say anything, because if you're a nobody, nobody's going to listen to you. And even if you are somebody and you try to speak out, everybody goes, oh, you're just hating, right? That's a problem we have in our community, where we don't listen to the canaries in the coal mine that are saying there's something wrong here. Everybody finds fault with the victim instead of going, wait a minute, this might be a real thing. There's enough smoke here that there might be a fire.
Right. Well, it is awful, and I just hope that the people, because it's kind of a trip. It gets sensitive when you start talking about some of these things, because here on one side you have people who are hopefuls, who aspire to certain things in this industry. And when I say this industry, I mean film, television, music, all of the above, everything that's attached to it. It's a small circle of people, even though it's big business. And these people will know who's who and who's doing what. And they are complicit with a lot of it. Some of it you feel like you need to be. As a person who's been in this business for a long time, I've always felt as though there was another door that I could have gone through if I wanted to. Like, there's other extra VIP, the VIPP room. I don't know.
That would be the room with all the baby oil laced with ketamine, right? You talking about that room? Because again, those are the rooms with the false idols. And again, it comes back to that false idol, the unrealistic expectation of fandom, and people worshiping these people because they see the imagery that the publicists work hard to push out there. There is a whole machine behind these people that push them out like they're gods, and they're not.
So at that particular point, then it almost sounds like you're saying some of these people get what they get what happens when you are attracted to false idols, when you can be misled, you can be taken advantage of.
Absolutely. One of the things that, from somebody who's done marketing and advertising for the past 30 plus years, I'm always very mindful of, am I pushing out a product that's genuine and real? It doesn't matter if it's a human, a product, a service, it doesn't matter. But there needs to be some responsibility. But again, I get it, right? Because you have these people coming to you throwing a whole bunch of money at you, more money than you could ever imagine making in 1 month or one check or one project. And they're going, I need you to push me to make me great. And if you're smart and you're good and you're talented, yeah, you can do that. You can make anything seem like it's better than it is. But it's all smoke and mirrors. It's all Hollywood. It's all that other thing. And it's about public perception. And unfortunately, I don't put all the blame on the people who have done the bad shit. I always put some of the blame on the people who were facilitating that, who knew they weren't worth it and still went out there and got their checks and pushed this garbage out to us, because we deserve better than that. We shouldn't have to accept that. That should not be something that we have to live with and embrace and fandom over.
Yeah, and for you to approach, like I always tell the story, like, when things start going really good for us back in the day, in the DU days, Digital Underground days, and you're having success, and you have all these people who come at you, hey man, put me on, man, I can make you rich. Put me on. When you put me on. And I remember that out of all the multiple people, and there was men and women, girls and boys, I mean youngsters, hopefuls and stuff. And I remember the cat, my man Tupac, who stepped to me and he was like, hey Jay, what can I do to help so that I can be put on? And that kind of attitude was what felt like it was. He wanted to put in work. He wanted to do work and not just hang out, not just be some kind of groupie hanging on or hanging around, and being vulnerable to whatever request someone might make in hopes to have an opportunity to, rap on a record or to do anything. And there are a lot of folks out there that will sell their souls or put themselves in harm's way
That part.
in exchange for a dream to come true. And when, and at one point, like I said, having success and the perception is to people that you now are a dream merchant for them, and you can be. And so that's a responsibility that I handle differently than from some of the
Right.
people
And
I've
you
heard
and
about.
I are both like that, where we realize that we have the ability to put something out into the universe. And here's the thing. In your 35 years, you never put out garbage. You never been like, let me just do something for this lick. Let me do this for a bag. You've always been like, let me do this responsibly, because I realize the power of my gift, of my talent. Like, I can influence people. I can change lives. Like, it matters to you. And somehow along the way, we lost that dynamic. I don't know if it was that Wall Street era, that generation of greed is good and everybody's just trying to get paid and everybody's just trying to be a celebrity adjacent. But it's like, come on, Black people, we need to be more responsible when we're putting stuff out. We need to vet more, because the impact to our community, to our past, our future, our everything gets tainted when we push out garbage to our people. That's not fair. Other races and cultures don't do that. We do. We'll push out garbage and go, here, eat this. This is great. Consume it.
Hey, I can remember going to a label, like I told you before, and brought some music, and I had songs that, that were songs of speaking on issues and dealing with stuff. And that's when an executive who wasn't Black told me that my music wasn't Black enough, because I wasn't making, this is during the G Thing era, the
That's a
chronic,
damn shame,
the
because your
chronic
stuff
record and
wasn't
stuff.
laced with drugs and alcohol.
Yeah, I'm not talking about how to hit a lick, or whatever. And so, the idea of a lot of times there is this pressure put on by the people of power who make you feel as though this is what you would need to be for them to invest time and energy into, your perceived talents and things of that nature. And it's difficult to navigate through that. There used to be, and the used to be is just so horrible. I mean, I hear these stories, and we've always heard them about the women and the casting couches and stuff, but now you're hearing about all the men and this has been going on with the men too for a long, long time. And
Long time. Yep.
and it's just it's really sad to see it all come together like this. And Diddy is the poster boy right now for all that decadent behavior and all that. I mean, we've had people who spoke on recently comparing him as with Hugh Hefner, and Hugh Hefner being this consummate party host who caters to the most eccentric and the perversions and all the different things that you have to be a good party host, to cater to the different clientele and people that would come around. The guy who would send you in the room with this producer or this director so that you can possibly get a film gig or a TV gig or all these different things. And, and I was just watching a thing on Hugh Hefner, and he was explaining how, his whole thing was to bring sex into the culture and to bring it into the mainstream. And that's what his mission was. And so the idea of him being able to operate seemingly with impunity for decades, he died right on cue. He, like, the hashtag Me Too movement came out. I think he died the next day.
But let's back that up, though. Let's look about the golden era of Hollywood, right? There were always people being thrown on that casting couch. You had to do a lot of things to be able to get that role, to be able to get that contract with that studio. It's always been part of human nature, because the entertainment industry is without a whole bunch of guardrails, because they have a lobbying system that is incredible. They can get away with murder, literally. And people lobby in favor of it. Yeah, let them get away with it. It doesn't matter what they do. And that's shame on us for accepting that and allowing that. It needs to change. So I don't think that Diddy being the poster child of this sea of change is a bad thing. I think it's a good thing, because it's waking people up to this is what it's really like behind those closed doors. This is what people have had to navigate. This is what they've had to deal with. And now that it's coming out, it's like the veil of shame has been lifted. You know, that
Sure.
truth thing that Cat Williams talked about earlier in the year in his interview with Shannon Sharp. This is what we're talking about, and it needs to come out so we can do better, because we got to do better. I work with a lot of independents, a lot of young artists who are like, I don't ever want to be signed to a label. They're terrified because they've heard the stories. They know the stories. You know, this industry knows things. Everybody can pretend like, oh, we didn't know that. And mostly the fans don't know it. But those of us in it, we know what happens.
Right. Well, and like you said, I mean, I brought up Hugh Hefner and Diddy, but the fact of the matter is the industry itself acted with impunity because a lot of those people didn't promote themselves. You know, a lot of these studio chiefs and heads of the studios and things of that nature did not really promote themselves as the people. They, you know, people they you wouldn't know that they were the host of the party. You wouldn't know the various different things that they could be found guilty of later.
Unless you were in the industry, because we all know who's throwing a party. We all know whose house that invite goes to. Everybody knows, but everybody's so scared because they don't want to be blackballed. They don't want to be ostracized.
Sure.
They want to still function. And that's a damn shame when you have a whole industry that won't speak up against something that's wrong because everybody's so in fear of the power being thrown out.
And it really seems as though now it's extended beyond just the film studios now, and just it's the party promoters now who should be on heightened alert about the various different things that they would do to have a certain group of people, at their parties, and the things that they're going to probably acquiesce now and not necessarily accommodate everybody with all that stuff. So from the party industry to, and which is all very connected.
But who are they working for? They're working for
the film and television companies,
right.
and agencies and the different agents.
And musicians and artists and all that other stuff, right? That's where it stems from. That's the root source of the evil, the debauchery, the decadence, the craziness, the power hungry, like quest for let me control people, let me manipulate people.
Right.
Everybody else is just there getting a paycheck.
Right. Yeah, it's awful. And, I just think about, like I said, a lot of the folks who are these hopefuls and stuff, you should hold on to your integrity. You should understand and maybe listen to some things. If you were blessed enough to have parents or someone around you in your community to tell you right from wrong and to stress certain things, you may really want to adhere to some of that advice, because it was so many times I could hear certain stories from people who had been victimized. And I can recall my mother telling my sister certain things. You don't do this. You don't do that. You don't do this. You don't do that. And I'm not trying to make light or jokes of anything when we were taught back in the day, you leave if you go to the bathroom or something and you were with some people, you put a napkin over your drink. You do something, and somebody would have to make a couple of moves to be able to poison your drink, not just put something in your drink. But if someone really was that devious and was that intended on trying to drug you and all that, that's horrible.
So what are you saying? It wasn't in the big party punch bowl at the damn
right.
That's pretty much where it's been for quite a long time.
Put spike in the punch bowl.
Yeah, absolutely. Like one of my really good friends went to a party, a daytime white party, and sat there and literally didn't move from that sofa for 3 hours, talked to another icon, and they talked. Neither one of them ate or drank a damn thing at that party, and then got up and left while the sun was still up, because they knew. Everybody knew.
That's awful. I mean, that is really, really horrible and scary to know that somebody can be around you, be that devious and sitting there plotting on you like that. It's like, wow. I don't know. It's hard for me to identify with, because I wouldn't I wouldn't put myself in those positions, and I wouldn't be. So it's just kind of hard to know what to say when it comes to people who have either been victimized or, or just willing participants in some of this stuff. Because, and it gets to be a hard thing to realize what's a willing participant versus the victim, because some of these things sounded like some of these people were in relationships with these
Like
people
they
for
were all in
years.
on it. They were like, yeah, let's do this, because they were feeling themselves.
Yeah, I mean, but to be living this lifestyle, and and I hear you. I mean, I've heard, I was lured into, this lifestyle of, of living in penthouses and, and eating caviar and going snorting some blow and taking this and taking that and doing this, that, and the other. It's like, did a motherfucker hold a gun to your head? Did someone make you do this? Or did you become enamored with it, caught up, liked it until you didn't?
Well,
Because
part of it is the capitalistic system that we live in, right? Because money over everything, right? And when you think about a lot of these people, this is their first opportunity to get paid, to become famous, to do whatever. And they're looking at it in a very different lens than somebody like you who's always grew up around talent, who always was doing it. They're looking at, this is my one shot, so I got to do whatever it takes for me to be able to lift myself out of the economic disparity of this country.
well,
And that's
then,
the sad part.
yeah, well, then, I guess if you want things you never had before, you got to do things you never done before. And at the end of the day, some people are more willing than others.
So sad, so true.
I don't know. And for me, just, a person that has a mom, a sister, a wife, a daughter, a granddaughter, and grandson at this point, and son, and I've always tried to do what people used to call what would seemingly be common sense. But, I remember my man Chuck D said years ago that sense is no longer common. And so with that being stated, it's almost like you have to check with each individual to see if we're all on the same page about certain stuff, because you shouldn't have to worry about certain stuff. But you know what? These bad people are out there. We know that. And that's why we take the precautions by not going to people's hotel rooms. And we will do our business with them downstairs or things of that nature. So, I mean, I can remember, because I felt the same way back in the day when people were like, let's just go up to the room. I'm like, nah, let's just do what we got to do right here. We don't need to be up in the hotel room, because that can flip.
You're smart and respectful.
But that can flip on you too the other way. You can get your ass jacked in your hotel room too. So the real deal is like, and for me to sit up and try to push the thing about, no, stay downstairs and conduct whatever you got to talk about. Now, unless you want to go upstairs, because what is in a hotel room mostly, right? A bed, a bathroom, and, that's pretty much it. I mean, it's like, I just, the idea of putting yourself in harm's way, of putting yourself in certain positions is really awful. But to sit up and say that means that you sound like you're insensitive about people that have been taken advantage of or screwed over. And I'm not trying to come from there at all, because I would want to hurt someone badly if they hurt one of my loved ones by them just following suit. Just, well, come on up to the room. We're just going to, nah, I'm cool on the room. I'm
But
cool on the room.
Jimmy, it's one of those things where literally I've had friends who dodged bullets because they were smarter, right? They were smart enough to know, this don't seem right. I should not be doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And literally they dodged bullets with, somebody who probably is still in jail right now, who, did a whole bunch of really horrible things to a lot of young girls. But because they were smart enough to avoid that, not go with that, and thankfully, they had parents who weren't willing to kind of sell them off and push them off, right? That's also the other problem, where you got people going, "Ooh, that's so and so, and they're famous, and you should definitely do that." No, just because they're famous doesn't mean they have any integrity.
Yeah, but you get caught in the hype. Like, I hear those stories, especially about, I remember the Michael Jackson thing, and they had the documentary, and those kids talk. And when they were telling the story, you know, the idea of their parents participating and literally seemingly feeding the kids to, it just so happened to be with Mike, but that Mike, that wasn't the only, I'm sure he wasn't the only entertainer who people fancy and wanted their kids to,
Sure.
would allow their kids to hang out with them and be.
R. Kelly. How many parents sent their daughters to him?
That's horrible. I'll tell you this. I can remember being in Houston and at the hotel back in the day, and we were on tour, and it was Kiss was on tour and New Kids on the Block was on tour.
Love Kiss. They gave a great concert.
And so the idea of, and it was the Public Enemy tour. And so in the hotel and in the lobby were the hip hop fans, and, or I should say, in addition to fans and people who just came for an autograph or just to see you up close. Then there are the groupies who are just hanging out, and everybody who we call a groupie doesn't necessarily want to have sex. They just want to be around you and just kind of kick it.
Right, be celebrity adjacent, as I call it.
And then there are the girls who are down for the party and want to do whatever. But the sick thing is that they were little girls, little kids, like young girls and early young teenagers in a lobby of the hotel to see New Kids on the Block and stuff like that. And it's like, what parent would just let their daughter or their daughter with a couple of friends hang out in a hotel lobby? Now, there's Kiss. There was a bunch of older women, groupie type girls. I don't want to say older women, but
they should have been looking out for the younger ones. Shame on them. Seriously, shame on them. Shame on everybody who sat there and allowed somebody younger, who they knew damn well didn't have enough sense and didn't have enough experience and knowledge, to be abused. Shame on them. They're accessories.
Well, and that's what it is. And so what happens is everybody appears to be complicit, and everybody's going along with it, and it's kind of hard to separate who's who and what's what. But that was one of the more weird situations I remember being in, like 3 generations damn near of groupies in a hotel and in Houston back in the day. And this thing has been weird for a long time. And I really am not trying to put people down who find themselves in these situations, but you do have to be cognizant. You have to be aware. You have to know the line, where to draw the line with yourself, and value yourself in a way that doesn't allow you to be a victim in some of these situations, because they're out there. I mean, I don't know why somebody needs to have to go through it to believe it. You know what I'm saying? But they're out there. I mean, and we've had, like you said, maybe this is a thing that will, the Diddy takedown and all that will hopefully maybe create some new attitudes and some new safeguards for people moving forward. And just know that if you're willing to do some of anything and all that to get over, then that's what it is. But
it's that halo effect, right? And the media, the publicists, the machine, everybody builds this halo of these people are great. Look at them, they're great. And people believe that the same way that they believe this rotten orange is running for president is great. It's the same type of thing where, people buy too much into what is said. They buy into that.
Right. Well, it's cheap.
You got to get away from it.
it's inexpensive to buy into a lot of that. It really is. It's very inexpensive to buy in to going on a whim or casting your fate to the wind and just going on an impulse, and not thinking things through. We've all done it. I mean, we've all done it in different ways about different things.
Have we though? Because every art, and I mean, I love some artists, right? I love thousands of artists, but I don't want to sleep with none of them. Like, what are we doing here? Like, I love the music. I can appreciate the music, but I'm like, that's not a path I want to go down. I can just love you to the end of the world without having to sleep with you, without having to spend time with you, without having to victimize myself to be in your presence.
Right, and that's why you are the kind of girl that would be dismissed in the lobby. No, I'm just-
Right. Well, I'd be dismissing
Well,
everybody else.
here, let me sign. Let me sign.
Who you are.
Right, let me sign your picture, your program, your record here. Okay, you take care. All right, you take care, Judy Klein.
I don't even ask because I don't even care. Like, I'm not that kind of fan. I'm like, I will buy your music because I respect you. I will listen to you. I will come to your concerts. I don't need to get with you because there's no delusional vision of anything, right? This is, you are an artist I appreciate. I respect your craft. Thank you for sharing that with me. Love you. Keep it pushing.
Right. Well, you're a rare bird in that regard. And the idea, we're not talking about you then. We're talking about,
Damn.
we're talking about
talk about me.
We're talking about the masses who, like you said, go for the false, the icon,
false idol thing, right?
The false idol thing, and I don't even like the word icon now. It's like they've stained it. It's like
all of it is stained. It is. That's why I just call it what it is. False idols. When you look at the Bible and you go, okay, well, biblical thing, yeah, it's a false idol. You're worshiping people that really,
which is a sin, and because it's a sin, you end up in some situations that you wouldn't if you weren't out sinning by idolizing false idols.
You mean end up in situations where you have 748 dildos and maybe 1,000 bottles of baby oil? Is that what you're talking about? I can't get past that. That is unbelievable to me.
Somebody's sexual proclivities and all that. I'm not really as pissed or tripped out about that as much as, like, even when it comes to, once again, the Diddy and him, if he's actually responsible for like stuff that they are alleging, like murders and stuff like that, that's really what's real serious.
A whole different sleep.
Yeah, that's a whole thing. But we were joking about Diddy's House of Horrors, right? The WHORE, right, for upcoming Halloween or something, right? Like the wall of dildos. They just come out and squirt all this stuff on you and all that. It's like,
right, you're going through one of those like madhouses at an amusement park, and you're just being doused with oil.
Set up like a studio that has a lounge and and all that. It's like the Diddy's House of Horrors. It's like awful,
so horrible. But my heart goes out to everyone who was beat and victimized, because no one should lay hands on you. No one should disrespect anybody like that. And that's somebody who is mentally ill and sick to abuse another human being in the ways that he has tormented and tortured people. And even the disrespect that he gave to artists that he screwed over, took all their money, and then got out in the universe and talked shit about them. I'm like, dude, really? Really?
Well, my thing, once again, is, don't get me wrong, it's wrong for anyone to screw over people. That is what my disclaimer is. It's wrong for anyone to screw over people. But for me, it seems like so many times the idea that when one of us does it, it appears as if we created the crime.
Well, it's because we always seek the attention to be amplified, right? In that light. Everybody else is doing their shit like under the table, under the counters. There's a bunch of people whose names I ain't going to mention who do their dirt in silence and in private and in quiet. But when we get out there, we're like, oh, look at me. I'm this, I'm that. So it's that dichotomy of I'm this mogul. I'm this big deal thing. And they push for that because it's kind of a counteraction to who they really are. Right? It's like, we know you're garbage, but the rest of the world gonna think I'm great. So let me push for that narrative. And people buy into it and believe in it. And it's really sad and horrible. And I hate that, especially about us, because, I've never been, and I'm admit it, I've never been a Diddy fan. And people would be like, why? Are you a hater? And I'm like, yeah, F you and your mama. I'm not a hater. The guy's not right. Something is wrong with him. And I've known that for a very long time. But again, I'm one of those voices where I couldn't come out and say anything because nobody would believe me. I mean, who am I? I'm not getting out there in front of the media going, look at me. I'm important. I have something to say, but nobody would believe it anyway. It's always like that with us. When one of our people does something wrong, you get this pushback of, no, that can't be right. Like, look at Bill Cosby. I've known Bill Cosby was doing crazy stuff to people for the longest time. These things because people have encountered this stuff. Even Harvey Weinstein, one of my dearest, closest friends had an encounter with him. And it was like, you can't say anything. And that complicit nature of the entertainment industry where it's wrong, it's bad, and then you've got the fans going, no, you're just hating and you're just a horrible person and you must be crazy and there's something wrong with you.
Yeah, okay. But you know what?
It's really hard to sift through the truth.
The idea of it all, it's definitely awful with these high profile people who commit these acts on stuff on people. But what's even worse is equally or even worse is the employee at a Walmart who has a boss who tells her she's got to do this to keep her job, or, just in everyday life, those kind of folks. And so the whole idea of the power is a trickle-down effect to people all the way down to, like I said, and I'm not trying to say down because you work at a Walmart and you're not this big high-profile multimillionaire individual, but just we are in a capitalist society, so it is.
That's why I like dogs more than humans.
Well, I can't get to that.
Dogs
but at the end
will
of the
never
day,
do that to you. Dogs are never going to do that to you.
I hear you. I used to have a homie who would go out and talk to this oak tree in the backyard because he would say, "It never lies to me." I get it. I got it.
Everything else, it's human nature. Human nature to be powerful, in control, and to manipulate and abuse the power. That's just what people are inclined to do.
Right. Well, the idea of it all is more than anything else. It's sad when people misuse power. Power corrupts, and it's awful. And we're seeing it because people were high profile, and also and being high profile, and also look at me type of thing, and it's come back to bite them in the butt. And the people that have been getting away with this for years will continue to get away with it, I guess, or learn to suppress their actions and stop doing this. I can, it's horrible, but like I said, it's a trip because we've been a part of this industry, and this industry has a real black eye on it right now. With this, we're paying a lot of attention because of the influence of hip hop and what it's been, and this kind coming from the industry or the genre of or the culture of hip hop, which is not just like it's not just a genre; it is a culture. And this cat is a cultural icon and has been that. And
but
and
for
it's
real though, or media created. That's the question.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. I don't know all that. I know. Yeah. I know that he's definitely been in the mix and has been very much a focus, and I can't watch TV without him popping up in something, one way, shape, or form. And I'm not even talking about watching music videos or anything. It'll be a movie I was watching the other day, Get Him to the Greek.
I'm sorry, because he's a horrible actor.
I hear you. Okay. He's the worst person in the world. All right, but the bottom line
I mean, a bunch of them. But,
there's so many of them. I mean, I guess when they drag little Leonardo DiCaprio or Ashton Kutcher with him, we're gonna see the levels.
Where's my car? Again.
Right, dude, where's my lube?
Well, it's there on the 1,000 bottles of baby oil. Place with ketamine.
Dude, where's my lube?
Right.
Or it was the lube that sank the Titanic when he was
and it probably
king
was.
of the world. But look, at any rate, for all those who have suffered and gone through the abuse of chasing a dream and ending up really horribly for you, we can only hope that you get help and that there's lots of mental and mental health, self-help places now online. There's a lot of help that needs to happen to help these people try to heal themselves. I'm going to go back to healing ourselves through the music and bringing good music to the people and going out on some shit that would basically just kind of hopefully, be something that is soothing and a good diet of the good stuff that we all need to put inside of us. And I just wish that things could be different. And God, let's look to see what unfolds moving forward, and hopefully just avoidable all the bullcrap and just move it forward. And Judy, Klein, I think that's going to wrap up our episode here.
Well, my final note on that is whatever's done in the dark will come out in the light.
Mm-hmm.
Always. So be mindful of that. Anybody else who's plotting to be the next sociopath who decides they're going to destroy a bunch of people's lives, and may there be legislation to make sure that the people who destroy people's lives actually pay for all of their healing.
There's
a lot that needs to go with that.
And we're going to say amen on that. And this represents another episode of the Chop Shop. Make sure you tune in next week with myself, ChopMaster J, Judy Klein, and so too. We out.